How did China win over African countries' support and secure its future with key mineral-rich economies? Now in today's video, we aim to understand China's growing influence in Africa, the EU's plan in Africa, the need of electricity throughout the European continent, and Morocco's solar projects that could be a solution. So how does the EU plan to combat China's influence in Africa? And how could BRICS affect Africans? The vast continent of Africa, larger than China, India, the United States, Japan, and most of Europe combined, it is merging as the next frontier market. There are some interesting benefits and advantages that Africa seems to have. These include the African population. Africa has a significant youthful and rapidly expanding population, with just over 1 billion inhabitants. Half of them are under the age of 20. The population of Africa is expected to experience a significant increase, reaching at least 2.4 billion by 2050, and steadily growing to 4.2 billion in the following century. China knows this, and China understands Africa's full potential, and it's been piling billions of dollars in investments of loans into the African continent for decades. In the past 2 decades, China has embarked on a mission to gain support amongst the African countries. China's understand that African population is something to be greatly admired, and the resource beneath the continent, automatically making African nations a strong long-term strategic trading powerhouse. China having to support these countries, being able to call them allies, partners. This brings about prosperity, which allows for greater trade deals and infrastructure development. This has made China a popular ally within the African continent. Now it gets even more interesting when you take a closer look at what China has been trying to accomplish over the past few decades. The president of China, Xi Jinping, foreign policies, the Belt and Road Initiative, sparked a surge in infrastructure loan from China to African governments. However, there have been growing concerns in regards to individual countries' ability to repay these debt and criticism of what some has deemed debt trap diplomacy. This has fascinatingly opened up a huge question. Is this a real concern? Is this concern even warranted? Energy is a crucial necessity for Europe, and finding sustainable sources of it becomes increasingly important. One potential solution could be harnessing the power of the Moroccan solar energy, which offers a clean and reliable option. The European Union has earmarked 1.6 billion euros to Morocco's energy and digital transition initiatives. Morocco's aim to reduce greenhouse gases emissions by 45% by 2030 and achieve a renewable energy target of over 52% in installed electricity capacity by 2025. This money falls under the Global Gateway, an EU initiative unveiled in September. This plan aims to utilize a total of 300 billion euros between 2021 and 2027 to promote sustainable endeavors. This is specifically to enhance connectivity between the EU and its partners, with 150 billion euros of the 300 billion euros aimed at persuading African nations to align their future plans with European goals in mind. Countries in North Africa like Morocco, Tunisia have the potential to assist Europe in meeting its carbon emissions goals while enhancing the position in light of China's intense competition for economical and political power throughout the African continent. The plentiful sunlight in northern Africa has the potential to supply energy to homes and businesses in Europe. European leaders are currently contemplating the idea of linking vast solar projects in North Africa to underwater power cables, with the goal of reducing their dependence on Russian energy. Keep in mind, the distance between Africa and Europe is very short. In fact, it's measuring 13 kilometers, 8.1 miles, 7.0 nautical miles. The Strait of Gibraltar reveals that the Iberian Peninsula to the left and North Africa to the right. Its narrowest point between Point Marroquí in Spain and Point Cyrus in Morocco divides the two continents. Europe has previously considered harnessing solar power from North Africa with a project called desertec over 10 years ago. Its goal was to supply 15% of Europe's energy through a 436 billion investment in solar power in the region. However, due to the financial struggles in Europe and an abundance of inexpensive fossil fuel from Russia, the project ultimately failed. But again, this was 10 years ago. Morocco has seen numerous benefits from their solar projects. Now there are further interests in developing more of these solar farms. Given the current geopolitical issues between Russia and the European Union, Europe is constantly looking for other options for renewable energy. This has made North African countries extremely important to the European energy future, especially clean energy. Further into Africa lies a different challenge for Europe and for the EU subsequently. That being said, does Europe stand a chance in Africa given its history? In more recent years, African nations pursue long-term development within individual countries. While Europe often shies away from offering educational and infrastructural development, it often offers only aid. There are now growing revolts against aid in Africa by Africans, as nations are finally waking up to the true purpose, which is one not of prosperity, but instead placing limitations upon one's societal economical structures. China, on the other hand, is seen as a new ally whom doesn't have a disastrous history amongst the African people. China did not approach Africa with handouts. Instead, China sought to provide Africans with what they've been seeking: infrastructure development, which is a key part of Africans' movement to become fully reliant on one's own resources. This discussion takes us deeper within the African continent. The Democratic Republic of Congo is renowned for its vast wealth in natural resources, making it the richest country in the world by this measure. However, a significant portion of these valuable mineral deposits remain unexplored, and they are believed to be worth a staggering $24 trillion. Amongst these deposits are the world's biggest coltan reserve and significant quantities of cobalt. Now that China has gained popular support within the African continent, Europe has suddenly become vastly more interested in partnering and investing in African nations. But some sees this not out of generosity. African leaders have been fairly vocal. They have seen this as an attempt to fight off the influence China has within the African continent. This has all garnered plenty criticism towards the EU plans and the US bid to influence African societal belief systems. The question many seems to be asking themselves: what do they have to gain? What do China have to gain? What do the EU have to gain? For the EU plans in Africa and the plans to invest 1.6 billion euros in green and digital transition in Morocco, many African leaders have seen this as a calculated move which will certainly shift the distribution of influence amongst the African nations. This is global geopolitics in a shape that is unseen previously within the African continent. Many have taken to social media to voice their opinion. Some have stated Europe intends to play chess with China, and the board is Africa. The key interest for many people is the Chinese vast investment plans within Africa. This map illustrates the vast extent of Chinese investment in various locations throughout the continent. Not only are these investments plentiful, but they've also gained a significant impact. For example, take the railway line connecting Ambassador to Nairobi and Addis Ababa, a flagship project for China that connects two major ports, Mombasa and Djibouti, with two important financial centers. The trade map accompanying this illustrates the extensive economical ties between African countries and China. Now, on the other hand, we have BRICS. How will BRICS affect African nations? How could African nations benefit from BRICS? And most importantly, what is BRICS? BRICS is an abbreviation for the countries of Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It's predicted that these economies will have a major influence on global growth by 2050. by offering opportunities for foreign expansions and high returns for institutional investors. The BRICS nations were seen as valuable investments. The goal of the organization is to enhance economical collaboration between its members. Additional countries like Saudi Arabia, Iran, Ethiopia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Argentina was extended invitation to join BRICS in 2023. The main focus of BRICS is aimed to tackle financial and economical challenges by pushing for reforms at organizations like the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, also known as the IMF. Additionally, they have established the BRICS Interbank Cooperation Mechanism. What is the purpose of the BRICS Interbank Cooperation Mechanism? The purpose is to establish a system that offers financial and banking services for potential investment projects, ultimately promoting economic growth in the BRICS countries. Now let's take a look at Ethiopia, a great example of what it is to truly invest in infrastructure development and how it could benefit one's country long term. Ethiopia, as an illustration, its economy has experienced remarkable growth rate ranging from 7 to 10% over the course of the last 10 years, solidifying its place as one of the top performing economies worldwide. Other neighboring countries have also experienced significant growth, with annual rates exceeding 5%, more than doubling the growth rate of many European nations in previous decades, which rarely went over 2%. While the continent is vast, agriculture resource is not a concern. It is, however, the blockades to these resources that prevents people from prospering. Now, on the other hand, Chinese loans have dropped significantly since its peak in 2016. Granted, if you've taken a look back at 2012, 2013, 2014, and 2015, it will look fairly similar to 2017 and 18. However, since 2019 and 2020, these investments have fallen significantly. These investments reached a peak of $28.4 billion in 2016. Chinese loans to African nations amount to only $994 million in 2022, the lowest level since 2004. This only marks 2 consecutive years of loans under $2 billion from China to African countries. The question at hand is whether the decrease in loans from China to Africa is solely attributed to the COVID pandemic or if there's other factors contributing to it over the years. These have been some very interesting conversations. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I do hope you found this video insightful and enlightening. Please feel free to share your thoughts below in the comments. Thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting. Remember to subscribe, leave a like, and I will see you in the next video.